on WMCT News, the state's latest effort to combat the spread of coronavirus right here in Marlboro. And what local establishment received fines for opening their doors to customers too early. Welcome back to WMCT News. I'm Megan Parsons. It's been months since the coronavirus pandemic first started, and more than 20 members of the Marlboro community continue to battle the virus. To help combat transmission, the state launched the Stop the Spread campaign, opening testing sites in hard-hit communities. WMCT visited one of those sites right here in Marlboro. Massachusetts launched the Stop the Spread campaign to do exactly that. Stop the spread of COVID-19. The state opened testing sites in communities across the Commonwealth with cases higher than the state's average. Marlboro was one of them.
We're fortunate to be able to provide this and provide some reassurance that everything we've been doing, wearing masks and social distancing, has been successful in decreasing the COVID transmission.
Two things make this testing different. It's completely free of charge and open to anyone, even those without symptoms. One of the sites here at Marlboro Hospital saw an enormous turnout in just a few weeks.
We've done, I think, just upwards of 3,000 tests.
But don't confuse the high testing volume for a spike in cases.
We're seeing anywhere from 1 to 3 positive tests a day.
Seeing only a 1 to 1.5 positive rate, most of the people getting tested are just curious or looking to travel.
I think, one, people are curious. The testing is free. There's people that are also going on vacation to have their COVID-free pass.
And the majority of positive cases are the ones the testing is designed to find, the asymptomatic carriers.
It is doing what it's supposed to do. It's finding someone, myself, like yourself, that feel great today and end up showing up positive.
The city also offers the testing at AFC Urgent Care on Boston Post Road West and the Jowrick School. It's available through August 14th. At Marlboro Hospital, Megan Parsons, WMCT News. 2 labs in the nation started using an FDA-approved technique to test coronavirus samples. One of those labs right here in Marlboro. Quest Diagnostics now tests coronavirus samples using a specimen pooling method. This method tests individual samples in small groups. A negative result for a batch means all samples are negative. If the result is positive, each sample is individually tested. This technique allows the lab to test more samples in a shorter amount of time. Quest is the first lab provider to receive FDA authorization for this technique. And as more coronavirus data comes in, school districts across the state are finalizing their back-to-school plans. Here in Marlboro, many school officials are in favor of a hybrid return. WMCT's Emily McGew has more on what will most likely happen this fall in reaction from local school parents.
This past week's school committee meeting gave a more thorough and comprehensive picture of what school looks like in the fall for Marlboro students. The hybrid model of learning, where students spend 1 week in person at school and then a week at home doing remote learning, is the best possible option and what will most likely be implemented. Content-heavy classes along with group and collaborative work take place in schools, while electives, introductory lessons, and independent work take place at home.
I have a lot of faith in, by and large, in their ability to adapt and come together and make it work.
It was decided that preschoolers through second graders, English language learners, special education students, along with high schoolers who must take the MCAS exams to graduate, take priority for in-school time.
More teacher interaction for the littler kids would be good.
The recommended 6 feet of social distancing will always be in effect, with desks spaced accordingly, along with floor markers in some areas. Masks must be worn at all times, and there will be hand sanitization stations all around the schools. Lunches will take place in unorthodox places such as gyms and classrooms, and partitions may be set up.
I think if the precautions are taken, I'm hopeful that we won't see a spike in COVID cases.
A bus pass is free of charge, but anyone without a pass will not be allowed to ride. Buses hold a maximum of 25 students, with hand sanitization being mandatory before entering, and the windows will always be kept open with the exception of hazardous weather. In order for extra training and professional development, 10 days are taken off of the school year, leaving 170 days for student learning.
I am pretty excited to go back to school.
More news is to come in the following weeks leading up to the reopening of Marlboro Public Schools. This is Emily McGew for WMCT News.
One local establishment facing fines from the state for opening too soon. The state's issued a cease and desist order against Apex Entertainment. Arcades fall under Phase 4 and the state still only in Phase 3. Apex faces a $300 fine for every day the arcade stays open. A 29-year-old from Northborough faces criminal charges after he allegedly coughed on a Westport police officer after she gave him a parking ticket. It happened at West Beach, where police say Stephen Lesnikowski told the officer he had coronavirus after coughing in her direction. Westport police issued a warrant for Lesnikowski's arrest on several charges, including threat of a dangerous substance. The department announced the officer involved was tested for coronavirus after the incident, but did not release her results. They urge anyone who was recently in contact with Lesnikowski to get tested. Marlborough police want to notify the community of a new Level 3 sex offender in the city. 38-year-old Carolyn Pierce moved to an apartment building on Briarwood Lane. Back in 2010, she was convicted on charges of rape of a child with force and assault and battery on a child under 14. According to reports, Pierce inappropriately touched a 2-year-old girl she was babysitting. Authorities consider Pierce a Level 3 sex offender, meaning she is of high risk to offend again. And local authorities also cautioning residents about suspicious packages showing up in mailboxes across the nation. One resident in Southborough contacted police after receiving a package he did not order. Here's what state officials ask you to do if you receive one of these packages. A warning from officials around the nation. Beware of strange packages arriving at your door containing nothing but a bag of seeds. In more than 12 states in the U.S., including Massachusetts, people reported receiving packages from foreign countries full of seeds, packages they did not order. Earlier this month, a Southborough resident contacted police after receiving one of these suspicious packages. Southborough police say the seeds tested negative for any dangerous substances. While the seeds aren't believed to be harmful to humans or pets, the State Department says they should not be planted. The unknown seeds pose a potential risk to the environment. If you receive one of these packages, officials ask you contact local authorities and fill out a form on the state's website. In Southborough, Megan Parsons, WMCT News. Coming up after the break, WMCT Sports Director Matt Pasaccio will catch you up on the latest going on with local sports.
Going for coffee.
Watch a movie.
Spending time with a friend.
A best buddy.
It's something we take for granted,
but it can be a little hard for people
with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
To make friends.
That is why we started Best Buddies Canada.
Best Buddies Canada matches people like me. With people like me. Like me.
To create one-on-one friendships.
We could use your help.
Go to bestbuddies.ca and see how you can get involved.
Because everybody needs a best buddy.
Including me.
Me.
You.
The IRS.
He's coming for you.
Mr. Roberts, this is George Hudson from the IRS. I need to inform you that we're recording this conversation for legal purposes. How are you today?
No, I see it as a game. And you say you're from the IRS, you can't lose.
Our records indicate that you owe back taxes accruing to $1,635.80.
I strike fast. You're like, "Hi-ya!" You know, hit them with their emotions, and then before they have time to think, you elevate it.
No, records don't lie. People do. Well, you're going to have to take that up with my supervisor. Here you go, ma'am.
Hi, Ms. Roberts. This is Barbara Johnson, Managing Supervisor with the IRS. You're going to have to make a payment today or I won't be able to stop the authorities from coming to your door.
You keep them panicked, and you say, we need to resolve this today or it's going to get worse. Debit card. Yes, just give me the number and the security code on the back. 079. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, people of America.
Hi, I'm Gina Lettery with the Buddy Dog Humane Society, here with some summer safety tips for you and your pet. We all have places to go and people to see in the summer, so let's take a look at some tips for keeping your pet safe on the go. It may seem cool to let your pet sit next to you in the car, but this can become a distraction for the driver and may cause an accident. Always provide your pet with a well-ventilated crate or carrier when traveling, or use a seatbelt specifically designed for pets. And no matter how cool or fun you think it is, never let your dog travel in the bed of your truck. Even at the lowest speeds, your dog could get ejected from the truck during quick stops and turns. And remember, it's against the law. Always secure a carrier or crate to the bed if you must travel this way. Follow these simple rules and your buddy will thank you.
Hello and welcome back to WMCT News. I'm Matt Bisaccio with your local sports. This week, Marlboro senior Babe Ruth played its final week of the regular season, jockeying for playoff position. With a 6-3 record entering the week, they were just a half game ahead of Hopkinton for second place, with each having 3 games to play. After a 6-0 win over Westboro on Monday, Marlboro hosted Medway on Wednesday night at Marlboro High.
A beautiful night for baseball saw Marlboro and Medway fight for playoff positioning with just a couple of games left to go in the regular season. After a scoreless first, Marlboro starting pitcher Steve Brettenfeld got himself into a bit of trouble in the top of the second. With runners in scoring position, Brettenfeld's pitches in the dirt, or in this case, brown synthetic grass. Hunter Stone can't control it. Medway's Ben Amaro slides in safe, and it's 1-0. Then it's Billy Reynolds who lines this one up the middle to center. Luke Fraughton jogs in from third, and the road team led 2-0 after an inning and a half. Marlboro would pick up a run in the bottom of the second, but Medway would answer with a run of their own in the top of the third. A walk led to the steal of second by Greg Assad. Assad advanced to third on a fielder's choice, and a few pitches after that, Amaro loops this single to shallow center field, Assad crosses the plate, and Medway would take a 3-1 lead going into the home half of the third. There, however, Marlboro would take the momentum and gain control for the remainder of the night. With the bases loaded, Jake Gale takes the pitch off his heel, forcing in Matt Farrell from third. Then again with the bags full, the pitch from Joyce Vorse gets past Childs, and this time it's Tyler Dossis scoring on the mistake, and that would signal the end of the day for the Medway starter. His replacement, though, wouldn't fare much better. Jake Naples turns on his fastball and hits it hard, but right at the left fielder. The play at the plate is much closer than it should have been, but Federico scores nonetheless to put Marlboro up 4-3. And then later it's Matt Skillings at the dish, and he shoots this grounder past the lunging second baseman. Gale scores, and after 3, Marlboro led 5-3. And that would be more than enough for Brettenfeld, who would settle down. He would put up a couple of goose eggs in the 4th and 5th, and then strikes out the side in the 6th, helping Marlboro earn a 6-3 win.
Marlboro had to have that game because the boys from Hopkinton have spent the week crushing teams and hurting feelings. They beat Framingham 7-0, Franklin 11-0, and then in their final game of the regular season, they smoked Westboro 12-zip, putting themselves a half game in front of Marlboro, forcing Marlboro to have to win their final game to maintain their spot as a 2nd seed entering the playoffs next week. Here are those highlights as they took on Framingham.
With a chance to lock up the 2 seed going into the playoffs, Marlboro hosted Framingham, looking to finish the regular season with their 9th win in 2020. Starter Matt Skillings wasn't able to keep the road team off the board for very long. Here at the top of the first, the runner at first, number 16, ropes this shot down the corner and 2 hops the wall. The runner from first comes all the way around to score, and after 1, Framingham led by 1. The starter on the other side, however, would cruise throughout. He gets Jake Naples to swing over the breaking ball to end the first. Then in the second, he blows the fastball by Nelson, and later it's Curlin who can't catch up to the high heat either. Then in the third, with 1 run already in and runners at the corners, number 16 comes up again, and this time he stays on the curve and bloops it the other way, dropping just over the head of the second baseman. Scoring is the runner from third to make it 3-0, and things would only get worse later in the inning. The runner breaks for third, Curlin's throw is too high for Hunt, the ball rolls to the outfield, another run scores, and it's 4-0 Framingham. Marlboro would cross 2 runs in the third to make it 4-2, but Framingham would squash any thoughts of a comeback in the 4th. After a walk to start the inning, this high fastball is pounded up the middle for a base hit. And then, with runners in scoring position, it's number 16 once again, and this was the hardest hit ball of the night from either side. A bullet that splits the center and left fielder. Both runners come in to score. Number 16 slides in with a triple, and Framingham beats Marlboro to close out the regular season 9-3.
Not the result Marlboro was looking for heading into the Central Mass Senior Babe Ruth playoffs that get underway next Tuesday. Now, instead of the 2 seed, they'll have to settle for the 3 seed. We'll have those highlights from their playoff run, so make sure you check back in a couple of weeks. Now, in other sports news, the MIAA and its COVID task force met last week to discuss a few different items, including a potential start date of September 14th for all the practices and a return to games in early October. And if games do come back, they'll look a little bit different pre and post game. Another item that was voted on and approved 22-0 was the new handshake rule, which would suspend pre- and post-game handshakes until further notice. That's it for local sports. As far as national sports go, things are finally starting to come back into our lives. Baseball, despite the Marlins COVID scare at the beginning of the week, seemed to be moving along. The NBA and NHL start back up this weekend, and hopefully NFL training camp won't be too far behind. Thank God for some type of return to normalcy. We'll take a quick time out, but coming up after the break, why a residential project proposed for the McGee Farm property concerns several Marlboro residents, including one resident who still lives on the farm.
I just found out my work party is a +1. You want to go? Oh, look, there's my boss, Ella.
Stay casual.
This is my husband, Greg.
She knows I'm high.
Nice to meet you, Greg.
You're welcome. I wore the purple shirt. Nope, I'm high. But I'll clean the kitchen while you're gone.
You're already making good decisions when you're high.
Pool party at Jesse's. Can you drive? I'm toasted.
Nope, I'm high. But I can order us a ride.
Okay.
Don't make an exception when it comes to driving. If you feel different, you drive different.
Hi, I'm Peter. And there's nothing I love more than sharing vegetables with my friends. Come on in! Help yourself to anything. That's why we give our food the utmost respect it deserves. Did you know there are simple steps we can all take to help save food? You can cook it, store it, even share it. Just don't waste it. Because when it comes to food, better ate than never. To learn more, visit SaveTheFood.com.
Ma.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Planning the right amount of food is hard. The Guestimator makes it easy. Just tell it who's coming and what's for dinner. Then it tells you how much to make. And yes, it even plans for leftovers. Try it at SaveTheFood.com.
Welcome back. A proposed residential project on the McGee Farm property received heavy pushback from residents who say it doesn't belong there. Here's what developers have in mind in reaction from one resident who calls McGee Farm home.
The wrong project at the wrong place.
City Council opened Monday night's meeting to the public, who voiced opinions about the residential complex proposal on Route 20. Developers seek a special permit to build 4 apartment buildings on the McGee Farm property.
We estimate that the project will generate over $570,000 a year in net revenue.
Council members heard from more than a dozen residents strongly opposing the project. Their biggest concern, traffic. Take a look at traffic right now. It's a typical weekday morning. But fast forward to 5 o'clock rush hour, a much busier scene. Others worried the influx of new residents would strain the city's resources and disrupt the land's ecosystem. And some liked the project, just not the location. But no one shares these concerns more than Lila Rule.
It'd be a shame to have 4 more monstrosities here, like the Cube Smart right next door.
She's boarded horses here the last 13 years, but started living on the farm a year ago.
It's a nice piece of green land that shouldn't be going away anytime soon.
And she's not the only one who calls McGee Farm home. Meet Nora and Peaches. Lila worries her horses won't be the only animals displaced if the project passes.
Definitely not the right property for it. Too many wetlands, too many animals. There's a whole ecosystem here of different animals that have lived here that are going to be pushed to outside neighborhoods.
The council sent the proposal back to the Urban Affairs Committee for further review. At McGee Farm, Megan Parsons, WMCT News. Another project happening in the city. Last year, the city of Marlborough received a $2 million grant to spruce up Lincoln Street and the French Hill area. That construction finally set to start in the upcoming weeks. Improvements to the area include utility upgrades, on-street public parking, and roadway improvements. The city hopes the upgrades rejuvenate the area and bring new economic and housing developments. Crews think the upgrades will be completed by the end of the year. Turning now to coverage from a power outage on Hastings Street. Several homes lost power after a tree fell, taking down multiple power lines with it. Just after 3 o'clock, a Hastings Street resident tells me she heard a large thud. That's when this tree came crashing down, knocking out power to this French Hill neighborhood.
You knew something crashed, so I knew something had gone wrong outside.
Rhonda Gilchrist was working in her kitchen when this tree came crashing down on Hastings Street just after 3 o'clock.
Looked out the window and I saw my wires shaking.
Taking down with it multiple power lines. Those live lines landed on the house just across the street, starting a small fire.
You could smell it, see it. I got really nervous, so I called 911.
That's when fire crews arrived on scene.
A small fire started on the outside of the building and the crews were able to knock it down rather quickly.
Crews evacuated anyone in the 2 houses at the time.
Nobody in the house that was on fire. They had the fire outside, but there was in the house that had the tree come down, there was people inside.
No injuries, but the incident caused some structural damage. That tree most likely fell because of interior rotting. National Grid shortly arrived on scene to restore power to the homes that lost it. In French Hill, Megan Parsons, WMCT News. There's some beautiful weather expected for this weekend. Maybe a trip to Callahan State Park will make it into your plans. WMCT's Emily McGee explores all the park has to offer. Check it out.
Callahan State Park is an expansive and enchanting nature area located in Marlborough, Framingham, and a little bit of Southborough. The Marlborough access point can be found at the end of Broadmeadow Street after the street becomes dirt, and the lock can be found on the left. With over 820 acres to explore, there is no shortage of trails to spend some time enjoying the forest. There are 10 trails, with the shortest being 0.9 miles long, and the longest is 5.5 miles. Plenty love to go hiking here, take their dogs out, run, go mountain biking, and even cross-country skiing in the wintertime. If you are taking your bike out though, be warned, the trails can get pretty rocky. Birds are always heard singing their songs, along with chipmunks crossing your path, and cute little garden snakes sometimes pay a visit. There are plenty of other animals that Callahan State Park is home to, and you may even be lucky enough to see a deer. Those trying to go on a longer walk are in for a treat where they can sit and relax by the beautiful Eagle Pond. From towering trees, elevated views, and plenty of wildlife, this area never gets old to take in nature's wonders. Reporting from Callahan State Park, this is Emily McGee for WMCT News.
And last but certainly not least, here is one of those feel-good stories. Marlborough police presented this man their Citizens Award after he saved a young child from choking. On July 2nd, while on the job at a construction site, Charles Fagan quickly jumped into action after he was approached by a mother in need of help. Fagan successfully performed first aid on her choking son, including the Heimlich maneuver to unblock his airways. Marlborough first responders arrived shortly after, but it was Fagan's quick action that helped save the child's life. The police department uses this award to highlight Marlborough residents who display qualities of bravery and selflessness. That's all for this newscast. Make sure to stay tuned to WMCT for local coverage on all the things happening in your backyard. For WMCT, I'm Megan Parsons. Have a great weekend.